Hi, everybody. I'm Kath Megaw, and I get to talk to you about one of my favorite topics, that is feeding and picky eating. And I really want to look into the pressure of feeding. So it is so important that when we are feeding our children and that when we are creating meals and creating meal opportunities, that we do it with as little pressure as possible. But this is easier said than done. And as a mom of three children myself and having to navigate the feeding journey over the years with them, I totally get the pressure and the need to feed. So I want to ask you, is this your story?
You want Eggy?
So I just love that little moments of stress. So this mom had come to me because she was really trying to feed her child healthy foods and good foods, and she's actually from a chef background, which I think makes it even worse. And he's sitting with this gorgeous bowl of food that she had created, but halfway through the meal, he decides he doesn't want it anymore. And then he decides he now wants an egg. And so this little drama unfolds as he's asking his mother now for something else. And she had to really learn how to stop being a short order cook, and literally going from one meal to the next and creating all these elaborate foods, because he was just being a toddler. And it's such a normal phase in this age to kind of push the boundaries, get halfway through a meal, decide they don't want it, get a few spoons into a meal, decide they don't want it, ask for something, and then decide they don't want it. And this is very common in this age group and even up to 5 years of age. So this is, I'm sure, something that all of you have navigated at some point or another, which is why obviously you are attending our workshop today. And a lot of the time, it's our expectation. Our expectation is there, and what actually happens is this. And so we have this huge disappointment. And so one of our biggest challenges as parents and people providing food for our children is to manage our expectations. And sometimes our expectations come out of unrealistic information that we've been fed either by healthcare professionals, and I take responsibility for this as a healthcare professional, or a lot these days comes from social media platforms like Instagram, Facebook, different following groups that moms are on, where parents are sharing pictures and often innocently. But if you're struggling with the feeding of your child and you suddenly see a little video clip or a little picture of a child eating elaborately, or all the veggies, or broccoli is probably one of the favorite posted on Instagram, and you do feel suddenly, oh my word, what's wrong with my child? And those expectations get bigger, the outcome drops, and the disappointment is just huge. And therein lies often one of the challenges and reasons behind the pressure that we feel. So obviously, our goals for our children is we want growth. We want them to optimize their brain development. We all want clever children that are developing and can learn and do well in their school. And we have these ideas where we want them to go and benefit from just the good nutrition. And then obviously we want them healthy. We don't want them getting sick all the time. So in a way, food holds a lot of these keys. And that is why we feel so pressured when it comes to feeding our children. So, what is important for good growth? So, it's not just food, and I want to highlight that as well. It's good sleep, it's a happy home environment. Yes, it's definitely having a variety of nutrients, but it doesn't have to be at one meal or even in one day. It can actually be over the course of the week. And if we observe the pattern of eating of toddlers and young children, we notice that they tend to binge eat. So they'll eat a lot of vitamin C rich foods on one day, then they'll eat a lot of protein foods the next day, and then they'll eat maybe have a whole day of eating really good fats and calories. And then they'll kind of repeat that cycle. And so over the course of a week, if we look at their food diary, it's not that bad, especially when they're healthy. This is not a sick child, but this is for a healthy child. we want them to get optimal calories, and that also occurs over the week. So we might have a very slow eating day where they hardly feels like they're hardly eaten anything, and that's why we use the term toddlers live on air because of that. But over the course of the week, they'll probably make up most of their calories. And then they also need all the micronutrients. So there's a lot of little micronutrients that are needed for growth. From iron, we know helps with growth. We know zinc helps with growth. We know vitamin D and calcium help with growth. And we're often not sure, are they getting enough of this? And this puts a lot of pressure on us because we feel we need them to get this every single day. But what's amazing is we know even with the micronutrients, vitamins and minerals and things like omega-3s, they can even have like a lump sum of omega-3 on like a Monday, and it will definitely see them through the week. So their bodies naturally do look for these foods most of the time. So what is important for our children to be healthy and to have a good brain development? One of the things, again, we come back to is sleep. So a good bedtime routine, good sleeping habits. And play is so critical and important for brain development because it stimulates the brain, it encourages neural connection, and it's free play. It's not sitting in front of screens, it's not doing all these intellectual things, it's actually imaginative play and free play. I grew up with a mother as a nursery school teacher, and so our home was filled with imagination, and she was so big on her imaginative corners in the school because it's so important for their brain development. And just playing with them outside or playing with a box or something like that that can be fun is wonderful. Healthy connections with parents, we know that that is so important for healthy brain development. So again, that's interacting in a healthy, fun, playful, non-pressurized way. And then interaction with peers becomes important from the toddler years and for those early childhood years as they start to learn how to share and play together. And they're not just playing alongside each other. And that's often where in food, we can encourage some better eating habits. If they've built a connection with a peer, they might be keen to try something that their peer is having. And we often find that in siblings where we've got a fussy first child, and then the sibling comes around, the sibling is, mom's a bit more relaxed, the siblings maybe got no sensory issues, so it's a bit of a better eater, a bit more explorative. And then the sibling who was struggling with picky eating starts to want to try the foods because there's this now interaction with their sibling. And then very important nutrients for brain development is protein. And it's not huge amount of protein. It's not eating lots and lots of meat and chicken, and because toddlers and young children struggle to chew a lot of the protein foods. So eggs are wonderful sources of protein, and it's quite easy to get in the protein requirements for their day and over their week. And then omega-3 is really important, we know, for making those connections in the brain, and they are in your good healthy fats and your fatty fishes. So that's what is important for our brain development. And then what is important for immunity? Well, actually exposure to germs. So during COVID, everyone was sanitizing so much. Now we've got this just kind of, now we are finding we're faced with all these germs suddenly, we're all struggling to really navigate them. So that is helpful. Children do need to get sick. They do need to get the sniffles. They do need to get colds. Obviously, you want to manage the severity and the frequency, but they do need to do that to build up their immunity. Playing in the sand, in the dirt is so helpful. Playing with animals is important. Yes, you do need to look at deworming. If your child is playing lots in sand pits, playing with animals, deworming them once a year is a good idea, but it doesn't mean you must keep them away from it. We know that children who are experiencing animals and playing in the sand have a better microbiome, so their gut is healthier. And so it's really important that we do that because our immunity often comes from our gut. Social interaction is important. So we often want to keep kids away from social interaction, but by the age of 3, 4, 5, we definitely want our children interacting and just engaging with other children. Even if they do pick up colds and flu, that's okay. Sufficient iron, Vitamin C and protein and calorie intake. So good nutrition is important. I'm definitely not saying it isn't, but it's not the only thing. And then your pre and your probiotics is also important. So this is why there is a lot of pressure. So where does that actually leave us? Because the battle is real. But the whole idea of today's workshop is to really prepare you for the trenches. So we're going to give you some tools, we're going to give you some information, some practical ideas that you can actually take forward into your home, that you can actually start to enjoy the feeding journey as you go through this. So I just want to end with this little clip.
Yeah, look, I think we knew today wasn't going to be an easy one, so we went in with a positive attitude and put our heads down ready for some work.
And not having your partner on the field today?
No, I mean, of course, not ideal, not having your partner in the kitchen with you, especially when your opponent's really well rested, having had a solid sleep from 2 to 6 a.m. It was definitely going to be an uphill battle.
How did you find the first passage of play?
Yeah, I mean, it was a struggle for us out there this morning. Our first few servings were absolutely battered. Opponent not having any of it. Scrambled egg, oats, toast, just not making any inroads. But luckily, that's where the experience comes to play. We thought quick and utilized the tomato sauce, which really helped claw the game back for us.
So still a lot of work to do today, eh?
Yeah, look, I think the day's not over. We've still got 2 main meals and a snack time to get through. Vegetables are going to be really crucial in the next passage of play. So I think you're going to be able to see a little bit of the here comes the aeroplane, the choo-choo train, of course, going to utilize that. If need be, we'll try a little bit of the tomato sauce again, but we want to keep that for future games. And if all else fails, screen time, a little bit of Cocomelon, and should see us through the day.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thanks.
So I just love that clip because it's so real, and we all struggle with it. And we really hope today that you get some lovely information, some healthy tips, some cool tips, some fun tips that you're going to be able to take forward and really see this journey in a different light by the end of today. So thanks very much.